Good afternoon, everyone. This is Aileen Crotty with the Film by Bike Film Festival, and I am so excited to be joined today with Fred Zelt. He was scheduled to bike the U.S. for MS, leaving on April 10th. Obviously, plans for that have changed, but in the meantime, Fred has launched the Global Cycling Festival, and it's been really exciting to see, the social distance cycling club, and it's so interesting to see what you've done with that project. I know it's been really neat to see that it's grown so quickly, and that was not something that I ever anticipated seeing in a Facebook group. So tell us a little bit more.
Why not try to do a bike around the world, kind of a relay around the world? And so we're going to do that on this weekend and have people send in what mileage they put in, either on a stationary bike or outside, and see if it sums up to 24,000 miles. And one of the ideas, or a way to think of it, is on Saturday to have people from all around the world cycle to the festival, and then on Sunday have them cycle back home.
Oh, I think that's such a great idea. So I got a note from one of our followers that we had a little bit of difficulty with your audio earlier on, but I apologize for that. But we did get that corrected. You are our first YouTube Live that we've done so far. We've done some recorded ones. But I'd love to hear you just repeat again those impressive numbers when you first started your group, and also what is the number that you're up to now with your Facebook group.
Yeah, the group started a little more than 2 weeks ago, and it's a little over 3,600 today. It's typically been adding 200 a day lately.
Wow.
So it's grown much larger than I would have guessed.
Yeah. So the social distance cycling group, you can find them on YouTube and join in. It's a great opportunity to share your rides, share your passion for cycling, and stay connected to a global group of people who understand that desire to be out safely on our bikes at this time. Now, Fred, I know you were originally slated to be launching on Bike the US for MS on April 10th. So tell us a little bit more about that project and why you are so passionate about donating your time and energy to the cause of MS.
Yeah. Well, with MS, like a lot of people, I did an MS 150 weekend ride. I was living in Houston at the time, about 7 years ago. I wanted to do my first century. It's a good place to do it because it's very well supported, and there are hundreds of people doing the same thing. So I did the Houston to Austin ride, and I heard someone speak about MS in a meeting ahead of that, and that kind of got me into the cause, fundraising specifically for MS. I'd wanted to do a cross-country ride since college days, did some research, and came across Bike the US for MS. It's a very small organization, staff of just 2, headquarters in Blacksburg, Virginia. They've been doing cross-country rides for something like 13 or 14 years, and it's a great group. I rode from Maine to Seattle with a group of 20 or so people in 2017 with them. I was helped be a route leader from Virginia to San Francisco in 2018 and did a shorter ride last year. This year, I signed up to do what they call a big loop ride. Starts in Florida, goes up the East Coast in April, May, and then across to Seattle. And then down from Seattle to San Diego, and then back to Florida. It's a 6-month loop. 2 people did it 2 years ago. It was the first time it was available, and a couple of us signed up this year. So I was really looking forward to that. I was actually going to pedal out of Pittsburgh, leaving from the hospital where I have started volunteering in an MS clinic on April 10th. And unfortunately, things changed this year. So came up with this virtual idea. I think they'll do some virtual events too. I think actually pretty soon they're going to start doing some virtual things. And I think there are way more than 100 charity bike rides in the U.S. if you add them all up for cancer, MS, and all the other causes. And they're all going to be missing their funding this year. So I think there's going to be a lot of need for virtual events to support the important charity causes. There's one that we've put on the Facebook group. It's the first one I've seen converted from an actual to a virtual event, the Bikes and Beers event that's coming up. But I think there will be a whole lot more of those. So I'm hoping that someone, Aileen, will come up with an idea for a Live Aid type event to benefit all those charities that won't be getting their funding targets probably this year because of what's happening.
Yeah, that's really going to be a challenge for them. And why is it that MS, of all the causes, and there's so many great health related organizations out there, but what is it that draws you to supporting MS in particular?
Well, like a lot of cyclists, I was drawn in by an MS 150 ride. There are 70 some of those around the country, and they've been going on for more than 30 years. They have great reputation as being well run, and then was drawn into the cause. And like a lot of people now, it turns out my high school best friend's wife has MS. I know a lot of people now with MS, including cyclists. So they say now that there are 1 million Americans with MS. The estimate's gone up from 400,000 a couple of years ago to now 1 million. And it seems like that more to me than that, because on these cross-country rides, when they see the jerseys and the van with big lettering on the side, people come up to you and tell you their stories. Mm-hmm. Now I've been sitting in an infusion room as a volunteer, just talking with people to keep their mind off being on IV for a few hours. And so I've heard a lot of stories now. And the medications that have come up or come out in the last 12 years or so, many of them are effective for many people. Not everybody, not 100%, but things are so much better for treating MS now. And with brain imaging and the sophisticated biochemistry that exists now, I'm sure there's a lot more good to come. So those are all reasons why I'm willing to spend my time on MS as a particular cause, because there are a lot of people who have it. It's a lousy thing to have, and there are good medications that have come up recently, and there's a lot more to come still, I think.
And what's to come for your ride? Is it at this point just a wait and see what happens, or are you postponing until 2021? What's the status of actually joining in on the ride for this year?
Yeah, well, for me, my wife actually suggested I think about doing the big loop a little over a year ago. So I've had a year of fun to anticipate it. My commitment to her was that was going to be it, that I wasn't going to do another really long bike ride. So I don't think I'm going to do a really long ride after 2020. And I think I'll stick to 2 weeks and less. One of the rides I want to do next, I met a guy from Israel on the Trans Am. I helped route lead a couple of years ago, and his kibbutz runs a ride, Israel ride, and it sounds great. It's a couple hundred cyclists for 5 days in Israel, touring around the country. I definitely want to do that. So there are other shorter rides like that I want to do, and I'm sure I'll do lots of short rides for MS. I volunteer and ride with cancer groups here in Pittsburgh and all that kind of stuff too. So, but I don't think there will be long rides in my future after this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds like you've certainly put in your time in the saddle, that's for sure. And I know those long rides are just so much work to put together, get ready for, and then also to decompress afterwards and go back to reality. That's for sure. Well, Fred, it's been great talking with you today. Anything else you'd like to mention about MS or your cycling Facebook group?
I'd just like to say to the people out there who wonder about doing a couple months long cross-country ride, if you can ride for a day, you can ride for a week. If you can ride for a week, you can ride for a month. If you can do that, you can cross the country. And the first one of those I did when I was 57. I was an office worker. I didn't really start cycling as an adult until 6 or 7 years ago, so a few years before that. I remember the first time I ever rode 30 miles in a day. And it's not that long ago. So if you train a little bit for it, and they can help you with how to train with advice. If you train a little bit for it, you can do it. And having done that now, I was 57, the first one of those I did, now I'm 60. I really think I'm in the best shape of my life having done that.
Yeah, I would imagine. Well, folks, today we've been talking to Fred Zelt from the Social Distance Cycling Facebook group, also a stalwart participant in Bike the US for MS. And he was joining us today to talk more about these. He's got the Facebook group up and running with over 3,000 members. It's a great place to join in. Even if you're not generally a Facebook group user, check this one out because there's some great energy and vibrancy happening there. Great way to stay connected with other folks who share your passion for cycling. So Fred, good luck to you. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I look forward to staying in touch about all the great projects that you have going on.
Thanks, and I look forward to participating in the Global Bike Fest this weekend.
Hey, excellent. Thank you.